Hi, I'm Cliffhanger, and this is Papillon, a film based on a true story lived by a former convict nicknamed Papillon. The film opens with a message. It's based on real events. Then a prison cell window hatch opens, and we see the main character, a prisoner named Henri Charrière, nicknamed Papillon. We jump to Paris, 1931. Papillon, dressed in a fancy suit, cracks open a safe in someone's apartment. He then slides down a drainpipe and heads into a cabaret. He's got a meeting with the club's owner, who's eager to show him some goons beating up a poor guy. According to the boss, the man was a snitch who went to the police. After stealing the diamonds Papillon had taken, the boss makes it clear Henri will face worse if he ever hides any of the loot. Later, Papillon waits in an alley for his girlfriend, a girl with hands made for tight work. He gifts her a necklace, but oops, one of the gang's henchmen spots it. After a wild night involving drinking in the street in front of street performers, someone knocks on their apartment door. It's the landlord, who suspects nothing. But when Papillon opens the door, the police burst in. He's arrested for the murder of that same snitch, the one who got beaten earlier. Saying goodbye to his girlfriend, Henri promises to escape and come back to her. In a shared cell, Papillon meets Louis Dega, a forger. Dega's clearly got money, something Papillon needs to plan a jailbreak. During a group medical exam, Papillon's buddy Julot points out Dega. Soon after, it's announced, all the inmates are being deported to French Guiana in South America, where they'll serve out their sentences with a side of hard labor for the homeland. On the ship, Henri offers Louis protection in exchange for funds to escape. Otherwise, proletarian types might take Dega out for his stash. Louis declines, but that same night, he witnesses a giant fat guy gut his neighbor over some hidden money. Now realizing he's next, Dega reconsiders. The very next night, the same fat guy tries to stab Louis, but Henri defends him. A full-on fight breaks out, and the guards end it with a blast of scalding steam into the hold. Henri's bloody hands mark him as a participant, and he's punished by being chained. When they dock, Julot trips and injures his leg. They send him to the infirmary. The rest are marched to meet the warden, a man who admits he doesn't mind escape attempts. Those not shot will get 2 years in solitary. Try again, and it's 5. If you manage to escape, beware. The ocean is filled with sharks. And if you kill someone, the guillotine awaits, still a French favorite in the early 20th century. But fiery Henri, a true rebel and mama's anarchist son, isn't scared. He's already planning his release. First, he needs to get into the infirmary, so he bribes the local fixer, but they need money. Louis is forced to retrieve a capsule hidden in his rear. The bills are soiled, but money doesn't stink. After a generous donation, Henri and Louis are assigned as orderlies in the infirmary. Seems like the plan is working, until the warden's deputy recognizes Louis. He's got a personal grudge and has them reassigned to heavy labor. There, they meet Cellier and nearly lose Henri's hidden stash when he strains too hard pushing a cart. At a rest break, Henri and Cellier talk escape. The old-timer has a plan, but they'll need money for a boat. The chat is interrupted when a brute attacks Louis. Papillon steps in, and a warning shot in the air ends the scuffle. On the way back, the guards pick up a ferryman and one of his ladies. Henri tries to strike a deal with the man to escape. The guy nearly rats him out, but after haggling, he agrees. They have 3 days to be ready, then the boat leaves. Later, while showering, some thugs try to redistribute Louis' wealth, but brute force, dumb luck, and a good old beating keep Papillon's dominance intact. The incident spooks Louis, who begs to be included in the escape plan. The next day, they all gather in the yard for an execution. Someone tried to escape and stabbed 2 guards, one fatally. The one being executed, Julot. Henri rises in horror when he sees it's his friend. After the guillotine drops, the warden orders Papillon to clean up the body and choose a helper. He picks Louis, who's not thrilled to carry a corpse. As they drag the body, Louis collapses. A guard beats him with a whip, which enrages Papillon. He smashes the guard's head with a rock and runs. He's forced to leave behind the barely conscious, glasses-less Louis. Papillon dives into the river under a hail of bullets. At night, he reaches the ferryman's boat, broke, but promising to pay later. The man laughs. Out of the darkness, armed men appear, bounty hunters. They've got to deal with the warden. Turning in escapees pays better than bribes. Papillon is thrown into solitary for 2 years. No sound allowed. He's regularly beaten, barely fed. Then one day, he finds a half coconut and a note in his water bucket. Someone's sneaking him food. The extra rations give Henri strength. He begins exercising, building muscle, just like in American prison movies. But the guards get suspicious. One day they search the bucket and find the coconut. The warden himself shows up, asking who's helping him. Papillon stays silent. His rations are halved. They seal off his ceiling, plunging him into total darkness. Darkness, hunger, and isolation bring hallucinations, ghosts from his past. But he endures. After 2 years, he's moved to the infirmary and plays the role of a madman convincingly. Meanwhile, Louis has become a clerk and earned some privileges. He visits Henri in the hospital. Henri says he still wants to escape, but this time, Louis has a plan. In a few days, there'll be a movie night for some visiting VIPs. Security will tighten around the guests, not the prison. The noise from the film will cover their movements. Henri stages episodes to get sedatives, hiding them instead of taking them. He befriends a pretty young man, the target of an amorous prison guard. The plan is to use him as a distraction. He meets again with Charrière, who has injured himself to get into the infirmary. He still has boat access, but needs money. Louis gives him almost everything he has left. On the day of the escape, Louis, disguised as a waiter, spikes vodka with sedatives and serves it to the guards as a gift from the warden. Meanwhile, the young pretty boy distracts the guard. Henri and Charrière unscrew bed legs, knock out a guard in the shower, and steal his keys. Downstairs, guards are already unconscious from the vodka mix. They wait for Louis, who's delayed by the warden. It begins to rain. The movie night, held outdoors, is canceled. Guests are ushered inside. A short circuit causes a blackout. Siren blares. Louis unlocks the gate. They climb the wall and jump, but Louis breaks his leg. They drag him through the mud to the river, where their smugglers await, armed. Louis has to give up the last of their money for passage. At dawn, they reach open waters by boat, but the little vessel starts taking on water. Charrière suggests throwing over a ballast, one of the younger escapees. Papillon refuses, not after what they've all been through. Then a storm brews on the horizon. Tension erupts. Charrière pulls a knife. But the pretty boy, who had earned his way into the escape, jumps Charrière. He flies overboard. A fight breaks out between Henri and Charrière. The young man picks up the dropped shiv and starts stabbing Charrière in the back. Charrière is dumped into the sea. They retrieve the pretty boy just before the storm hits. Next scene, Henri wakes in a hut on some island. We don't know how they got there, but Christian missionaries have sheltered them. Henri finds Louis, leg splinted, and says they need to leave, but Louis refuses. He warned Henri not to trust Charrière, but Henri didn't listen. Besides, Louis is now popular, not just with guards, but with lovely local girls. Henri leaves the camp alone, but from the hilltop, he sees a prison vehicle. Warned by a nun, he races back to warn the others. Too late. The pretty boy is shot dead before his eyes. Louis is recaptured, deeply moved that Henri came back for him. Next scene, years later. A thinner, gray-haired Henri is released from solitary after 5 years. The warden sends him to Devil's Island, a final exile, a rocky fortress in the ocean. No one escapes from there. There he finds an aged Louis, not imprisoned, just abandoned. Louis paints and lives fairly well compared to the others. But Henri isn't done. He still wants to escape. Louis shows him a cliff. Theoretically, you could jump and survive, but where to go without a boat? Henri observes the tides. He builds a raft using coconuts and other junk. But on the day of the escape, Louis declines. He's got no home to return to, and this place is now home. The friends part ways. Henri throws the raft into the sea and leaps after it. Louis watches the ripples. No sign of Henri. He begins to lose hope, wipes his glasses, tears up. Then, Henri resurfaces, clinging to the raft, laughing. They say one last goodbye. Papillon floats into the open sea. Above him, a jetliner streaks across the sky. Cut to 1969. An older Henri is flying to Paris. Still a wanted criminal in France, he brings his written memoirs, stories he penned before his memory fades. They are to be published in France, the country that wrongly condemned him. The film ends with archival footage and captions. The prison was permanently shut down during his lifetime. His book became a bestseller. He was granted a pardon by the French Minister of Justice. That's it. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Take care.